Welcome back to Beyond the Headline, everyone. I'm so excited to have you on the show today because I'm here with Kaitlin Barton, the Senior Marketing Director at Califia Farms. Kaitlin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It is so fun to be here and to represent Califia. It's awesome.
I'd love to start out exactly with that, an introduction to your brand and the huge impact you guys are making in the space.
Oh, well, thank you. It's been an incredible journey. Califia was founded in 2010, actually, as a juice company. Our founder, Greg Steltenpohl, partnered with a co-op of family-owned growers in the Central Valley to squeeze Cutie's fruit into Cutie's juice. And so that's how Califia was born back then. And then in 2012, we started making almond milk, which is now what the company is most known for. We've become a leader in the plant-based beverage industry and category for our iconic almond milk, which is in a curvy carafe, which has kind of become our signature. And the idea was that Califia was founded to actually bring more of the industry's winnings back to the farmers themselves. So actually really think about how you can partner with growers to make sure that they get as much of the positive results of their bounty as possible. So that's really why we started with the Cutie's juice in a vertically integrated fashion, but then started making almond milk, buying almonds from a family-owned farm right down the road and actually making our almond milk. And so our brand mission is to become the plant-powered food and beverage company of the future. And we really think a lot of the way to build this foundation is by making sure that you are connected with the supply and thinking about where your food comes from, really asking deep questions about it, and then as a company leading the way in an iconic form by actually having a beautiful, beautifully represented plant-powered product that people can recognize as being part of that movement.
There are about 100 questions that I want to ask you about this, and I'm sitting here so excited, but I actually want to touch on something quickly that I think really represents your brand and your commitment to your customers that we were just talking about. A while back, your customers didn't want to have Carrageenan, which is a form of seaweed, in your products. You guys spent 3 years, a lot of time and money, taking it out of your products. Can you tell us about that and why it was so important to you?
100%. So Carrageenan is a product, it's an ingredient in especially plant-based alternatives to dairy or other ingredients that just serves as a thickener. It's a natural solution to thickening without necessarily the presence of dairy fat. And so we used it in our original almond milks as a thickening agent. And we learned about, I would say, a year after we launched almond milk that it was an ingredient of major concern to a lot of our consumers, and that in the natural food space, it kind of had become known as an ingredient to avoid. And while our team basically feels confident, we would never put anything in our beverages that we weren't fully confident in their safety and health, what mattered more was that the people consuming our beverages didn't feel confident and that they had any reason to concern. And our job is to make sure that when you buy a Califia product, you know that you're giving yourself and your family the best possible product, that you're nourishing yourself mindfully. And so having an ingredient in there that enough of our consumers, and again, we don't have this barometer, complaints reach X, we do X. It's more like we have to intuitively know when this is something that the people who really matter, our biggest stakeholders, our consumers, are actually concerned and saying, I want to participate in this brand. It tastes really good, but I'm not sure. That to us isn't worth kind of debating back and forth. We had to find a solution. But to your point, it took a really long time and a lot of R&D and then kind of big equipment investments at our plant to actually bring that to life and launch a Carrageenan-free formulation. And so, again, we just had to remain really transparent, really communicative and say, we're working on it. We hear you. We respect you. We're responding. And that's something that, again, from the beginning is a value that we're very firm on. It's not something that we'll ever kind of just bury our head in the sand and wait for a regulatory kind of mandate to come down and then we'll change. If there's something that our consumers are really concerned about, we have to listen.
That was just a huge standout for me with the brand. You love seeing today companies that are actually listening versus, maybe using a different ingredient that is similar but has a different name. So really kudos to your team. And I want to dive into the size of your team because I could not believe this when I heard. Is your product development team really only 4 people?
It is. That is totally true. And that's a recent expansion of that team. So for us, we're like, oh, hey, we got 4 people. But we're growing all the time. We're actually, if you check out our website, we're currently recruiting in that area. So we do need to build the infrastructure to support our growth. We're growing like crazy. And so, Califia moved to this new office behind me in the Arts District of downtown LA in a lot of ways to support our growth and to say, hey, we're here to stay. We're part of this world-class new movement of companies basically saying we can fix the food system. And, the way to do it is to make sure that you get the best talent and that, the people who are really ready to be part of that mission want to work for you. And so we are building out our R&D team, but all of those great products that Califia has on shelves, and we have 65 different products now. All of those were created by this very, very small and amazing team. They're pretty incredible. I mean, they'll get a text from our CEO with a picture of something that he saw in market with his thoughts of how we could improve upon it or the way that you would Califiaize it and really bring something totally new to market. And then a month later, the product's ready to launch. I mean, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but they are incredible.
And what's your culture like? What are your typical days like at the office?
Absolutely. So, I mean, kind of like any company, so much of it comes from the top, and our leadership is just exceptional. Greg Steltenpool founded Odwalla, and he really, in a lot of ways, was kind of the original juice guy. And his commitment to bringing really nourishing, delicious products to U.S. consumers is something he's never wavered on. And so Califia, in a lot of ways, is really kind of carrying that torch and, doing it in a way that's sort of unfinished business for him, really going back to California sourcing, thinking about where we can very, very mindfully and thoughtfully choose our ingredients and support local growers. And so that kind of mission, that mission from the top is what really gets all of us out of bed in the morning. And so our culture is defined by just a collective effort to be part of this leadership of a movement that Greg definitely has pioneered. He's been the champion of it for a long time, but everyone who comes to the company is really here to make systemic change. And so we have a culture of total commitment to that. Our core values include optimism. That's a really important part of what we all bring to work every day. It's just we call it the bottle is half full. Thinking of our bottles, but it's basically just this value that says you can bring humor, you can bring optimism to these seemingly large problems. For example, kind of the environmental imperatives of embracing more plant-based diets, not only as Americans, but globally. But we have to bring optimism to that challenge if we're going to really make change. So, and that's a good example. We're also, we have a lot of work to do. So, we start early and make sure that, throughout the day we can get a lot done. But our culture is definitely, it's dynamic. It's very fast paced. As we've grown, we've kept our entrepreneurial DNA. Anyone can bring an idea up. We're not very siloed at all. We just kind of all really work collaboratively and try to bring things to life as quickly as possible because, not only does the world need it, but, we can't just, we kind of come up with something new every day.
I'm really thrilled that you touched on optimism because I think it comes through in so many different parts of your brand. And I'd love to really hone in here on your work on the marketing side and the role that optimism plays in storytelling. Because like I was telling you, when I'm on Instagram or I'm on your blog, I'm just thinking, I want to be this person.
That's so cool. And there's no higher praise to a marketer. Knowing that we've made an emotional connection is, again, that's specifically what gets me out of bed in the morning. But I think that what it sounds like we've accomplished is our core brand marketing value of just being human. And every time that our brand voice is connecting with someone, that is at that's our true north. That's our guiding light. It's just there are humans behind these screens, behind these keyboards, on these phones. There are humans, who are really dedicating themselves to this brand and this product and this mission. And if we don't connect with our consumers on that level, then what's the point? And so kind of thinking of it from that optimistic, just aspirational lens, you can see that every time we talk to someone, it's again that we've chosen to be friends with each other. On social media, we've decided to connect our lives together. And so we have to respect that friendship, again, with just optimism and integrity and true friendship. And I think that brands often think of social media as just pure marketing, but for us, it's one-on-one connection. And that's a lot of what we also do in real, in our actual experiential marketing, where we do a ton of events and we try to make sure that as many people as possible can really taste Califia. We kind of joke that tasting is believing. And so, again, we think about when you have a one-on-one connection with a brand and you say, hey, they really care about me. They care about themselves, their own families. That's why they do what they do. It's a total buzzword in the world right now, but that's a much more authentic connection, and they're trying to sell me something. And so for us, the value of that relationship is lifelong. It has nothing to do with just winning your purchase. We want to win your friendship.
I think that really says so much, because we were just talking about this, that, I learned about your work a long time ago and have been following it. And you were just telling me, we have this one product that'll be perfect for all of your allergies. And it really says a lot to have someone follow a brand for so long and have such a positive affinity towards it.
Totally. I think that a big part of what we set out to do when we started Califia's both social presence and just bigger in market presence was to say, these relationships have to go beyond the product. The product does solve problems in people's lives, and that's how we meet each other. But unless we're kind of fulfilling each other's, we talk about it again. It's a little cheesy, but one of the things we're here to do is to fill your cup. And that expression can be literal, but it can also have a whole other dimension of just providing solutions and encouragement and other kind of pieces of, to use your word, fulfillment along your journey. This is definitely a brand that's not a flash in the pan. We're thinking really long term. It's the way that we've grown has been very thoughtful to make sure that we can scale, and that when we do have a national commitment from a retailer, that's an easy thing for us to do. And as a lot of startup companies kind of can come out with something super cool and funky and innovative, but for us, that innovation has to be woven into our core DNA so that it's not something that goes away and we become the brand of last year. What we're trying to do is so much longer term than that.
And how do you use that mindset to decide when is the right time to launch a new product?
So I think we'll become more formal in it as we grow, but often it can be just as simple, and it's kind of funny peeking behind the curtain, but it can be just as simple as, Greg has an idea and we need to bring it to life. And so, for example, our new Nitro Cold Brew went from concept to being on shelf in 6 months. And so we came up with the concept for our nitrogenated cold brew, which is nitro-infused cold brew with almond milk and a little bit of macadamia nut milk as well. We came up with that concept in January because the cold brew category itself is it's a hotbed of great innovation. There's so much going on. The taste of cold brew is actually super smooth, and so it's really catching on nationally in a really mainstream way. And so a lot of what we've done is say, hey, we've already had a lot of success in this. We've been the number one cold, ready-to-drink coffee brand in the natural channel for a while, but that doesn't mean we can rest on our laurels and just say, hey, check that one off, no need to innovate here. That's not the way that we treat any of our cats.
We're done now.
Yeah, we'll go home. And so we started playing around with infusing our cold brew with nitrogen because, I could talk about it for forever, but there's this long history of bubbles being part of celebration in American and kind of global culture. But carbonation creates these very big bubbles, and they're a very specific kind of refreshment or enjoyment. And with coffee, by adding nitrogen, which are these tiny little smooth bubbles, you actually get like a super creamy mouthfeel, which for us makes a lot more sense. If you think about our line of cold brew coffees with almond milks, they're super creamy, they're super smooth. And so adding the nitrogen to that combination created a whole new experience, sort of I've been calling it breakfast beer, but it's also the idea that you can kind of imbibe and enjoy yourself and celebrate, but without compromising your health. You're also giving yourself a clean source of energy, a really delightful experience, and in a totally new format, which is how we judge success. I mentioned it when you and I were just chatting at the beginning, but when we go to market, we have to have something different and something better. And if we can't do both of those things, it doesn't make sense for us to enter that category.
Speaking of the coffee too, I'd love to dive in a little bit deeper there on a couple of fronts. But first, you were saying you guys are the top selling brand in the natural foods category, which is amazing. And you're second only to Starbucks outside of that. That blew me away because you guys are a baby company that is 6 years old. They're a massive company I don't even think massive is the right word, but 45 years old. They're a legacy. What do you believe drives that growth?
So we think, Starbucks does so much right. They're totally innovative. They really respond to trends and pay attention to insights. But one thing they didn't do that they really just waited a long time on was thinking about how many people didn't want dairy in their coffee drinks. Yeah, exactly. And so this is kind of a weird little known fact, but Starbucks actually sells more milk than coffee in the United States. So the amount of milk volume that they sell every year in terms of their milky drinks is more than the volume of the coffee sales. And it's like on a amount basis. And so, this company is in ways, it's this coffee and milk company. And we were founded on a plant-based platform. And it's what a lot of people are choosing. We actually have some total coffee bona fides on our team they're total coffee purists. They really think that coffee in and of itself is the total experience, and they begrudgingly admit that actually almond milk enhances it. Almond milk provides this great base for coffee enjoyment. And so for us, that was a total coup because we're all almond milk lovers anyway. And to get, a diehard coffee fan over on our side is really proving that we've come upon something extraordinary. And so Starbucks only recently announced that they're even going to add almond milk in their stores, let alone go the RTD bottled beverage route, which who knows if that's in the works or not. But for us, having this platform of innovation that actually met people where they are today, saying, you're looking for dairy-free solutions that still taste really good and don't feel like a compromise, having that innovation in market back in 2013, which is when we launched our coffees, that's really what made us a leadership figure. And then a lot of different brands have caught up with that, but that's where that started.
I think another great thing that you guys have done, and taste is number one because there's so many products out there, even 6 or 7 years ago that I was just like, this is so bad. I don't want this. So exactly. You just end up not having it. But something that you guys have made a priority is accessibility. Yes. That almond milk is not going to cost $12 or $13 for a carton because you can't feed a family off that.
Absolutely. And that has a lot to do with just a reflection on the milk. Milk's been subsidized in the United States for a really long time. And for us to compete and encourage people with families, to your point, to replace it means that we have to be at a competitive price point. And so, I think you can even tell when you look at our packaging, we're not in this just for profits. That's one of the reasons that our competitors haven't really been able to come after us too much is that it's pretty hard to copy our packaging. It's expensive. And not that we still come in at a price point that is, totally comparable to milk, and also just only a slight premium over the other value-oriented cartons in the category, because we're not trying to just, basically be all about profit. We want a better quality product that has a better experience. And if you're a giant CPG company, there's no way you're going to invest in a kind of more premium package because you know that that eats away at your margins. Whereas for us, it's all about the quality of the experience that we pass on to the consumer, and not, to your point, not having that be an $11 purchase. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, there are products that are more premium in the category that do make sense in that maybe they have much higher almond content or something like that. So we've decided to just be very transparent in what's in our product, what you're getting for it, and why it costs what it costs. And that's been, a really big deal for us. I think it's also why we were able to get into a lot of conventional retailers because they were saying, our consumers want almond milk, but they want one that tastes good.
And you guys are now in 27,000 stores, right?
Yes, which is amazing. When we started 4 years ago, I think I launched our store locator on our website and maybe 7,000, I don't know. We had a much smaller footprint. So we've had great growth. So much of that is due to our incredible sales team. They are absolutely the best there are. We've got great leadership in that area too. And what they've done is really just been able to align with industry trends. People are in stores asking for dairy alternatives, and they want to know the story behind those products. And they want to know that those brands aren't just part of another kind of giant CPG conglomerate that also has dairy in its portfolio, for example. And so that's why we've been able to make such a difference.
That makes a big difference, actually, when
Absolutely.
It's like sort of like an add-on product, and then you think, like, are you spending as much time on this as you are on your main products?
Or, I mean, one of the just the true kind of bare, it's just an ugly truth of the industry is that if you have both in your portfolio, where do you invest your innovation dollars? Because if you invest in alternative dairy, it might cannibalize your dairy sales as those trends, develop. So it's kind of the stalemate that some companies get into because they aren't necessarily willing to invest in the future.
You guys are totally investing in the future, and a huge part of that is your story. I'd love if we could focus on your latest product launch and how you crafted that story, because that was so much fun. And you have it right behind you.
Yeah, it's super. Yes, I do. I can grab it with you, actually. But I mentioned a little bit about thinking of our nitro concept and saying, here's how we can enhance the product by adding another element to it, a kind of exciting experience with the nitrogen. But what our marketing team got together and said, how do we make this, again, to your point, universally appealing? How do we make sure that this doesn't feel like a niche, exclusive thing for people in the know of what nitro coffee is? And so we launched our campaign. The kind of official campaign title is Better Coffee for All. And the core property of the campaign is our microsite, WTFisNitro.com. And we went back and forth a little on, are we really going to get people's attention, to learn about nitro? And what we realized was a lot of people have that question.
I didn't know what it was.
Like, what is nitro? And so the launch of the microsite has actually been super successful so far in getting people interested in learning about why you would even add nitrogen to your cold brew and why we did it and then why ours is special. And so it's a multi-channel campaign. It's really very developed in terms of the digital space, but it also will have a fair amount of event activations. We'll be sampling the nitro. We had a launch party here at our HQ with some media. We had, nitro cocktails, some kind of, again, ways to just make it more real and more accessible and say, this is totally just an enhanced experience. It's not something that I could only get at a specialty coffee shop. It's something that I can get at my local store. And so when we started playing around with how we can make, nitro both really exciting, really intriguing, and special to us, those three questions brought us to the WTF is Nitro microsite. And then also thinking about the kind of campaign umbrella, which is Better Coffee for All, is what I mentioned, that everyone should have better coffee. It's no longer kind of only for the people who are in the know and feel like they can, go wait at a specialty coffee shop, which we love specialty coffee shops. They've actually made it. They've popularized better sourcing, better quality, connection to the source. And so that's something that we celebrate, but also want to make sure everyone has access to.
And this is just a question for me tapping into your marketing expertise. Why did I love the videos so much? The short ones that you guys had on Instagram.
Yeah.
What was it about that?
So again, they kind of go back to that idea of just being human. I mean, you can shoot a really glossy ad. You know, you can get out and have a close up of the bubbles and the sleek bottle. But at the end of the day, that doesn't say anything that special about Califia's Nitro cold brew coffee. It just kind of shows that we have good package design. You don't really get to experience anything with the coffee. And so what we chose to do was just get normal people, just like, basically, people we already interact with. We didn't do a casting or anything. It was just finding friends and family who we think would be really fun. And we just basically introduced them to Nitro on camera. And so the idea that you don't need a ton of production value, you just need, a really great product, and you need to introduce people to, basically it's just for you and me, it's for us, and it's pretty fun. And one of the things I loved from the videos, they asked Mike, how do you rate this on a mouthfeel scale? And he's like, mouthfeel scale? I have no idea, but it's really good. And that's kind of the idea, is that we can get so lost in the technical details, and sometimes when you see an ad, it's just so focused on these like core, benefits of we can talk forever about why this is better coffee, and we can talk forever about why this is a cool package, but that's not really what's going to sell you on this product. It's just that it's a product for everyone. It's better coffee for all, and that it's pretty fun. And so we wanted to capture the essence of that fun in a video that felt super accessible.
One of the things that really stood out to me about that video too is when you guys are asking him to rate it, and he says 8 or 9, and the reason it stood out is because, traditional marketing would have been 10, and my life has changed, and now I have this weird superpower because of coffee, and that's, like you were saying, I mean, it's just not realistic. When did you learn, or when did you learn that was going to be your voice?
Well, a lot of that has to do with how much we pay attention to our consumers. I mean, we answer every single question. For, I guess, the first 3 or 4 years of Califia, I was still just answering every single question or phone call.
Oh, my God.
And so, we're just so close to our consumers. We value them so much. We care about them so much. And so, one of the things we've learned is that not every product is for everyone, for example, which is, again, why it's great to have 65 products. There is something for everyone. But also, we're pretty humble in that, like, we're constantly improving. It's continuous innovation, continuous improvement at Califia. And so, not everything's going to be, 10 out of 10 dentists recommend. It's like, this is really good coffee, and I'm totally just a normal person and can say, I want to have this again without, to your point, cheesing it up and saying, and now I can see in the dark.
Well, that makes a difference, though, because you watch it and you relate and you think, hey, I'm like that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think there's a little bit of a myth in advertising that, perfect products, perfect people, is the ultimate goal. And I think that Califia is really just saying, like, we want our products to be part of your life's ease. We want it to be desirable and easy for you to live plant-powered. We want it to be something that is totally accessible, and you don't feel like, well, only this elite subset of, for example, vegan athletes can partake. It's really just that all of us love products that enrich us and taste really good, and that combination makes it really easy to make better choices.
And to that is a huge, huge issue. Despite the, expansion of the healthy food space, most feel that it's an elitist category. The products are too expensive. They're not human. Who would do that? But you guys are really transcending that.
Absolutely. I think that there's also this idea, and it's part of our brand voice and our packaging. And at least for me growing up, I grew up in a family that was, we already drank plant-based milks, but they were pretty great. They were in, like, we joke about it, but everything seemed like it was the same muted purple. And, like, the health food store wasn't this fun, sexy place like Whole Foods is now. It
I
was,
understand.
yeah, it was kind of like carob and crunchy and, you know, kind of this idea of, it didn't have a lot of appeal outside of the hardcore believers. And Califia isn't, it's not that we popularized going dairy-free or being plant-based, but by making it, you know, by basically saying, rejecting that everything has to look the same. And by saying, you know, by being disruptive and saying, you know, this package can be beautiful and sexy and look great in your fridge and also be really good for you is, I mean, it's kind of shocking that it was so disruptive, but it was.
And how is that changing for you guys, specifically in your role as you're in 27,000 stores? I know it's going to be more very soon. You guys are growing so quickly. How do you keep upping your marketing game as the audience gets not only larger, but wider?
So there's a few, I mean, this is definitely what keeps me up at night is just how, you know, how do we have marketing that is as innovative as the products that we make? And the brand is about so much more than the products. You know, the brand is so solid. And so how does our marketing make, you know, introduce that solid, you know, brand that's very, very, you know, we're not still trying to figure out who we are. We know who we are, but not a lot of people know us. And so how do we take our marketing efforts to the rest of the world that doesn't know us in a way that feels fresh, it feels authentic, it's not, you know, taking the playbook of kind of spending just a ton of money to, you know, kind of beat out the other competitors. That's not our style. It's really figuring out ways to show up in unexpected places, for example, or really cultivate unexpected partnerships. A huge part of what we invest in is just our consumer base. So we have we just launched an ambassador program where we took 80 power users, just power fans on social, and basically we work with them every month on basically learning how to get better together. You know. We get their feedback on all of our products. We send them products before they hit the market. We basically work with them to really learn what they want from a company and from a brand, so that as we develop more kind of broad or more comprehensive marketing programs, we're doing it in a way that really resonates with both our consumer and today's consumer, because these ambassadors are really representative of who's out there in the marketplace shopping today. And a lot of that has to do with their shopping online. So one of the things we're working on is how we can launch our own e-commerce, how we can launch our own direct-to-consumer platform that would say, you know, if you can't get this Califia product in this particular location, we've got a solution for you. And so a lot of our marketing is going to start really reflecting some of those new innovative programs. It's also just bringing in the right partners, figuring out, for example, you know, the blogging community is super powerful, and we love that because, again, it takes a layer away. It's not super salesy. It's basically choosing people who are already fans, aligning with them, helping their blogs grow, helping their voices get heard, and growing together. So one of the things we'll work on next year is figuring out, you know, for example, what geographies, to your point, if we're in 27,000 stores, what geographies don't necessarily have a really strong Califia representative from a blog perspective in those communities. So right now we work with a really amazing vegan baking blogger, an incredible kind of food scientist turned chef, and we keep thinking about, you know, for example, leveraging, you know, other aspects of Califia, design, fashion, things like that could really introduce new people to Califia in an unexpected way rather than just kind of your normal playbook.
And the bloggers are such a huge influence. I mean, I would not have made it had I not had blogs to follow.
Yeah, they're really important. I mean, I think brands are totally aware of this. It's not something that we're at all alone in recognizing, but again, it's a new way of consuming products that's basically just, I mean, the influencer is so much more influential than the ad, because whether it's paid or sponsored or not, it's someone's own human opinion. And so I think that is something that it's totally natural for us to advertise that way, to market that way. And we don't really think of it as advertising. It's helping aligned partners grow. and basically reaching their audience. You know, we're glad to pay to reach their audience. They've worked really hard on cultivating that audience. So blogger partnerships are really important to us.
Before we go, Kaitlin, I just have two more questions that are more on your journey. The first one is, what's been one of your favorite interactions with a customer?
There's so many. We have, every time we go to even just trade shows, we hear from buyers and other people who often don't necessarily want to engage with a brand on a personal level. Just tell us, so much positivity, so much. They reflect all of the interactions they have. So having that in the trade field is really meaningful because it does mean that your brand is doing something special. But from a consumer perspective, we had one of our ambassadors. We were going back and forth in a chat about how they felt about the brand. And I asked, what would you do if Califia ceased to exist? And they said, oh, no, don't do that to me. I can't ever go back. It was like finding out that there was color in the Wizard of Oz.
Oh my.
And so I just kind of remember that it was like this absolutely lovely metaphor for, bringing color and vibrancy into life. And I mean, it seems dramatic for a product, but it's definitely a good testament to making someone's life better and, really adding value, which is all we ever want to hear.
I love hearing that. What a great way to describe it. And then the last one is, when you reflect on this experience of your 4 years with the company, what stands out to you the most and what are you most excited about moving forward?
So it's so funny. We kind of joke about Califia years because, 4 years actually in ways feels like both 5 minutes and 2 decades. But I think that there's a lot to be said about growing the right way. That really stands out to me when I reflect on my time here. And I think that sometimes companies can grow so quickly that they just get overwhelmed by the growing pains and they don't think about saying no to certain opportunities and making the right decisions of where to invest. And so I think that we've made the right choices about where to invest. And a lot of that is in our people and in our products and saying, we want to make the best products possible. And so, that's a valuable lesson for me. Like, where do you, as a company, choose to put your money at the beginning says a lot about your long-term potential. And 4 years later, long-term is is a hard thing to gauge, but that's been really important to me. And then thinking about the future, I'm just really excited because the sky is totally the limit. We've been incredibly fortunate in that somehow this almond milk company also makes aguas frescas and nitro cold brew. And so as a brand, we haven't stuck ourselves into this little corner that feels like you can only do this one thing and that's what you'll be known for. Our company has kind of unlimited runway to innovate, whether it's in probiotics, whether it's in foods, whether it's in
oh my God, probiotics too. This is great.
That'd be so. I know. Ice cream. And so, I think that that's what I'm most excited about is that we've been able to thoughtfully build a brand that can so kind of authentically and mindfully innovate in these different product categories. And I personally have never experienced that in another brand.
Do you have like an all-time dream product that you would want to have?
I have a total sweet tooth, so almond milk ice cream that is actually really good, which I haven't had one yet. I've had great coconut ice creams, but I would love a dairy-free dessert that I felt actually good about consuming. I make chia pudding with our almond milk. I do all these kind of alternatives to kind of solve that sweet tooth, but I would love a Califia ice cream, which we actually know our consumers want too.
I feel you and I support both of those initiatives.
Yes.
I'm so grateful that we got to have you on today, Kaitlin. I'm such a huge fan of the brand. Thank you. Before we go, can you tell everyone where they can learn more about you guys and how they can start trying all of your different products?
Absolutely. So this was so fun. I hope we get to do it again. The best place to find our products is at our website, califiafarms.com. We have a store locator that's actually updated based on real-time scan data. So if you click on a product, type in your zip code, it will tell you where that product is scanning in your area. So it's a great resource to find Califia near you. And then all of our social media platforms are super fun. I personally, I'm a total sucker for Instagram just because we're such a visual brand. And so it's so fun. And then now with Instagram stories, you can really get to know us even better, which is really fun. Snapchat's another great one to just kind of get a little bit of a sense of behind the scenes who we are. And it's less polished, which I also like, which is pretty fun. Just really, again, it's a great platform for storytelling who we are as humans. And so those are the best places to really get to know who we are. Our website has, our FAQs, some of our sustainability initiatives, different things that give you a little more color. But, I hope I've definitely encouraged people. You can also just ask us anything. We're here. We're always listening and want to respond.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. It was so fun.